spawned right next to a chest tree. Okay, let's see what's inside this chest.
Netherite armor! Oh my god!
I've been exposing fake Minecraft speedruns for a long time now, but these are no doubt the craziest and the funniest I've ever seen.
This first runner starts by immediately looting a village and finding fire resistance potions in the brewing stand of the church. Remember these for later. He heads to a nearby lava pool where there are strange block placements that are clearly fake. These grass blocks are already perfectly set up for him to build a portal, which he does and uses to enter the nether. Once he's in the nether, we can pretty clearly see a bastion, but if we look a little closer, we can actually spot an existing nether portal out in the distance, showing us that he already entered the nether before the run. The runner bridges toward the bastion, but he ignores this entire section of it and bridges all the way to this very specific room where he finds super overpowered loot, as well as ender pearls in a separate chest. He heads to a nether fortress next, where he drinks one of the fire resistance potions from earlier to help fight the blazes. There seems to be a ton of blazes, which is explained by the second blaze spawner that we can just barely see if we squint a little. Once he has the blaze rods he needs, the runner heads to this very specific spot with a little indent in the terrain that was pretty obviously made by him for a nether portal. Sure enough, he builds a portal and it brings him into this cave, where he is able to mine straight down and right into the stronghold, where he doesn't get the achievement for entering. This next runner starts the run by immediately digging into a buried treasure and getting a ton of good loot. They swim to a nearby shipwreck next, where they find an insane amount of iron, but instead of heading to the nearest land, the runner swims in a different direction and eventually finds a ruined portal that was not visible from where they previously were. The runner loots the portal and heads towards a village where there are 1, 2, 3 iron golems, more than a village of this size should naturally spawn with. The golems also don't fight back when being attacked, which further proves that they were spawned in. We can actually see that this farm here has water with no blocks under, and yet the water stays in place, leading me to believe that the runner world edited this farm in, and this is simply a resulting glitch. The runner seems to messily cut their recording and then finds a random librarian villager that has impossible trades. Also notice how the runner leaves the village without collecting a single bed. Weird. The runner enters the nether next, where they spawn right in a fortress. They grab what they need and head back to the overworld, where they prepare to approximate the location of the stronghold, but halfway through they just give up and run right to where the stronghold is without using any eyes at all. The rest of this run is normal, so let's move on. This next run starts off normal, until we see in the runner's inventory that they forgot to clear their search bar. But things really start to get weird when they enter a ruined portal and end up in the back rooms. Oh, nah.
We interrupt your daily dose of embarrassing Minecraft cheaters to bring you some breaking news. You've definitely already heard of Frag Pro Shooter, but let me catch you up to speed. Frag is a mobile shooter that launched 5 years ago and now has over 200 million players. But get this, Frag just released a new update, Volume 4, with a ton of new content including a new character, Miss J, whose weapon transforms into a cannonball thrower that's super powerful. There's also a new map, City, which brings a ton of new experiences centered around its dome. But best of all are the new arcade modes. Over 20 unique gameplay experiences with their own rules, like All for One, Firework Day, Sniper Alley, to go alongside Frag's existing 1v1, 2v2, and Street Frag game modes. And get this, download Frag today and you get free rewards, available only through the link in the description. Trust me, you won't regret it. Thanks to Frag for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to some fake speedruns. In fact, let's switch things up a little.
This next runner is playing in the mine a chunk speedrun category, where the goal is to, well, mine a chunk. They spawn right in a village where they find chests with gunpowder and diamonds, both things you can't find in a village. They use the diamonds for a pickaxe and use the gunpowder for TNT. Next, the runner picks out a spot to mine, but it's pretty clear that they've already had this spot cleared out, something that's made obvious by the lack of grass compared to the surrounding area, and this terrain here that seems very unnatural. The runner starts to dig and eventually uses the TNT to clear out blocks, but things get weird again when they find a pretty big cave that just makes mining this chunk out even quicker, and then eventually a second cave that is huge, which clears out like half of the chunk. I guess we know now why they picked this chunk. This runner starts by looting a nearby pillager outpost and heading in the least optimal direction, into the mountains, but it pays off because they end up finding a very convenient village and ruined portal. They complete the portal but don't light it yet. Remember this for later. They loot the village and then mine down in a very specific spot where they find infested stone, something that is impossible considering they're in a meadows biome and not in a mountain biome. And then they eventually mine straight right into an ancient city, a new addition in the 1.19 version of Minecraft. The runner finds diamond blocks in the center of the city, something that is possible just not in this specific spot, as well as blaze rods, which are not possible to find in an ancient city. But maybe the runner thought they could get away with it because of how little people know about this new update. The runner heads back to the surface and enters the portal from before, and proceeds to kill some endermen. But if we look closely, we can just barely see an enderman spawner that the runner clearly placed. The runner heads back to the overworld and locates the stronghold, but notice their XP bar as they mine down. Yeah, they clearly cut their recording, most likely because they died once they entered this huge cave that actually almost kills them again. The runner searches the stronghold for the portal room for a couple minutes, until eventually they pause and stare at a wall, before turning right back around and walking directly to the portal. Just from looking at the video, it isn't entirely obvious that the runner cut the recording while staring at the wall, even though it's made pretty clear by them suddenly being able to easily find the portal afterwards. But if we take the footage and look at it in an audio software, we can see a very blatant cut. Alright, let's move on. This next run comes from an old friend of mine, Epic Minecraft Dream Pro Speedrun, whose fake speedruns I've covered in past videos. The run seems pretty normal at first, aside from the heavy metal music playing over it. But after some digging, I found that the world seed is straight up from a website with the top 20 Minecraft 1.19 seeds. Right here. Epic Minecraft Dream Pro Speedrunning finds a ruined portal, and the chest has... I'm not even gonna explain this one. He finds piglins whose trades seem tampered with, as he's able to get ender pearls super quickly. He grabs blaze rods and eventually builds a portal to return to the overworld, but when he enters the portal, he is right in the stronghold. I got this next run from the actual speedrun.com moderators, so it's gotta be good. And it is. The runner spawns at the bottom of a lake, which is just not possible. He's right next to a village that has an insane number of iron golems, as well as an insane number of villagers, probably just there to cover up for the iron golems. Only 3 minutes into the run, it changes to nighttime, showing us that the runner has been on this world for a lot longer than it seems, as Minecraft days are supposed to last for 20 minutes, not 3. He heads to a nearby ruined portal that is already complete, something that is just not possible. The runner heads into the nether, where you can spot a space in the ground that was obviously originally a portal. He finds a fortress where 2 blaze spawners are right next to each other with nothing in between, making it very easy for him to get a lot of rods extremely quickly. The runner finds a bastion where there are just no piglin brutes, and he trades for what he needs and then heads to a very specific spot that is clearly already set up for a nether portal. He returns to the overworld and locates the stronghold, but only has 1 eye left. Oh, but it's fine. That's all he needs to complete the portal. The chances of this are incredibly low. Once he's in the end, the ender dragon already has some of its health gone, which seems pretty weird. Okay, let's move on. This next runner starts his run by heading directly to a ruined portal, which seems strange because this portal was not visible from where the runner spawned. How did he know to run right in this direction? The runner makes the bizarre decision to head right into the nether, before he even chops a tree, where he attempts an advanced speedrunning technique where you use the pie chart in the F3 menu to determine what direction the nearest bastion is in. Typically, this technique is pretty complicated and requires some thinking, but the runner ignores all of that and just spams keys randomly. He even goes into spectator mode by accident. After he pretends to locate a bastion, he finds one, where there seem to be very few piglins, as well as some pretty overpowered loot. You'll also notice that the spawner in the bastion is spawning blazes instead of magma cubes like it's supposed to. Because of this, the runner is able to get both rods from the bastion as well as, of course, ender pearls. He has everything he needs, so the runner heads back to the overworld, where he starts to head towards the stronghold. He stops at a village on the way, where he collects a bunch of beds, before eventually getting all the way to the stronghold, where the silverfish spawner and the lava in the portal room are strangely missing.
Okay, let's just...
This first speedrunner spawns right in the village, where if we look closely, we can see a couple missing wood blocks, showing us right off the bat that this world has already been played on, and the runner must have forgot to place these blocks back after a past attempt. Next, they find a chest in a house where it is impossible for chests to spawn, and inside of it they find a ton of iron that they don't get the achievement for. After looting another house with a ton of iron and strangely no bed, the runner crafts a full set of iron gear, minus a pickaxe. Remember this for later. The runner finds a ruined portal next, where the entire surrounding area is on fire thanks to this 1 block of lava, which again shows us that they have already played on this world, which is really the only way this fire would have enough time to spread this much. The ruined portal's chest has a bunch of insanely impossible loot, which allows the runner plenty of resources to head right right into the nether, where they are in quite the predicament. To avoid having to build all the way to solid ground, the runner heads back to the overworld, where they walk a while before building a new portal, which takes them right to, what do you know, a nether fortress. The runner collects blaze rods and eventually heads to a nearby bastion, where there is an insane number of piglins. Because of this, the runner is able to get ender pearls from trading super quickly, and heads back to the overworld, where they locate the stronghold and conveniently mine right to the portal. But eventually they end up killing themselves in the end with a bed. I'll score this speedrun with a C for complete your speedrun next time. Next, we're gonna take a look at this dude named SamIsDead12. And in this one speedrun of his, the loading screen seems a little suspicious. When you generate a brand new world, this white square appears briefly in a specific location before zapping to the center and continuing to enlarge and change color. The location of the initial appearance of this white square stays the exact same every single time you generate a new world using the same seed. In SamIsDead's run, the white square spawns in the bottom left, but when I loaded up the seed for the world, which was provided by the runner in the description, I found out that the square is actually supposed to spawn near the middle, showing us that the runner spliced his recording during the world generation process to make it seem like he hadn't already played on this world, but we'll find out soon that that isn't the case. When he loads in, the runner is suspiciously able to immediately run right to a shipwreck, and then right to a village, and then right to a lava pool, which he uses to build a portal. But when he enters the nether, there seems to be a cut in the recording, and right after it, the runner is conveniently right next to a bastion. Not suspicious at all. The runner loots the bastion and trades with some piglins, where he's able to get pearls pretty quickly. He locates and loots a fortress next, and afterwards builds a portal in a very specific spot that conveniently takes him right to a village, where he's able to gather the beds he needs to fight the dragon. The runner heads to the stronghold next and mines right down into this underwater cave, where he somehow knows the exact direction to head in and is able to mine right into the portal room. The runner proceeds to fight the dragon, and everything seems legit. This run was a bit less obvious, so I think I'll score it with a B for better than the last. You guys have been asking me a ton to show you who the speedrunners are, so this next run comes from a guy named Joe Smith. I'm not joking. This guy starts the speedrun normally by just chopping some trees, but things start to get weird when he heads down into a cave and finds...
It's an Enderman dungeon? No way. I didn't even know these things existed. They're so rare.
So he now has access to all the ender pearls he could ever need, but there's more. In the dungeon's chests are blaze rods, obviously placed by him before the run, and completely eliminating the normal step of having to go to the nether.
Ah, there's a carcass, there's a carcass, there's a carcass. It's a zombified carcass.
He goes ahead and kills some endermen.
I need to kill some more of these tall guys.
But almost dies because he's clearly not the most skilled player.
Cry about it, cry about it.
Even with all the insane items he already cheated for, he feels the need to use commands to give himself even more Eyes of Ender.
Just for the sake of the speedrun, I'm gonna give myself some Ender Eyes. I'm sorry. Ender... Unknown item?
But he doesn't even really need them, because he just walks like 10 blocks from the dungeon and finds the stronghold.
Oh, there it is, there it is. Come on, baby. The end! The end! Guys, I did it! Headphones down, it's okay. I can literally buy all the headphones I want. I'm famous now.
This next runner is using a third-party Minecraft client, which is not allowed for speedruns. He finds a strange cave right next to his spawn where he's able to jump right down into an ancient city. How convenient. The runner loots the ancient city, which strangely has no shulk shriekers, and heads to the city's portal, which for some reason has obsidian instead of the deep slate it's supposed to spawn with. And the portal takes him right into a fortress. He grabs blazer rods and eventually finds a pack of endermen in the fortress, which would technically be possible if the fortress was in a blue forest biome, but these gray particles in the air show us that it's actually in a basalt delta, confirming that these were spawned in by the runner. He heads back to the overworld and builds up to the surface, and begins to locate the stronghold, which is very strangely and very obviously constructed to just be a straight path to the portal. The runner enters the end and almost dies to an enderman, and so in order to save himself, he cuts his recording and all of a sudden has notch apples in his inventory. We can tell that he cut his recording because of the sudden jump in the timer. I'll score this run with a B for big portal. This next runner, who by the way is using a third-party client, starts his run by chopping wood in a village and killing an iron golem, but he strangely doesn't get the achievement for grabbing the iron. A little while later though, he strangely cuts his recording and afterwards has the achievement. What a good way to cover it up. The runner finds a ruined portal next where he only gets 1 obsidian from the chest, but after heading to a second ruined portal nearby, he all of a sudden has 8 that somehow just appeared in his inventory. He heads to the nether next thanks to this obsidian, where he quickly locates a bastion, but in this room where there are normally quite a few piglin brutes, there's strangely only 1. The runner loots the bastion and from 4 chests gets 34 gold blocks, when normally you'd only get about 10. The runner locates and loots a fortress and then finds a group of piglins to trade with. After completing the trading, the runner has enough pearls for 7 eyes of ender. Not quite enough to get to the end, but it's fine. After another random cut in the recording, he has a ton of extra pearls in his inventory. Next, the runner locates the stronghold and heads into the end, where he actually, well, dies. And when he returns, the dragon's health is entirely depleted. I'll give this run a D for don't die next time. This next runner spawns in an absolutely insane seed, with 1, 2, 3, 4 villages, 3 shipwrecks, and 2 ruined portals. And when he's looting these, we can actually see in the distance a ruined portal that seems to have already been lit by him. The runner eventually heads into the nether using a different portal, and once he's in, the nearby lava has already flowed all the way down to the ground, which seems suspicious because normally when you enter the nether for the first time, lava takes time to flow down from the roof. He kills some blazes in a nearby fortress, but leaves with only 5 rods. He heads to a bastion next to trade for ender pearls, where he once again only gets 5, and then heads back to the overworld, locates the stronghold, and heads into the end, where there's something strange going on with the crystals, like this one here that doesn't have a base on it, showing us that it was placed by the speedrunner, as it is impossible for a crystal to naturally spawn without a base. A lot of the pillars also look really short, which also explains the lack of base on the crystals. Not much else happens in this run, so
This next one is interesting. In this situation, what would you do? Probably chop the nearby tree or try to find a village or something, but instead, this runner runs straight to a shipwreck in the nearby ocean. Not suspicious at all. He doesn't find anything good in this chest, but somehow he knows to go to this other chest where he finds a ton of crazy loot and a potion of water breathing, which is just not possible. So he uses this potion and then uses a dolphin to quickly swim to a ruined portal. It seems like he wouldn't be able to use such a big ruined portal to enter the nether, but he finds a ton of obsidian in the chest, which just isn't possible, and so is able to make a little portal of his own. Once he's in the nether, the runner quickly finds a fortress, where he stumbles upon a diamond blaze. Yeah, that's exactly what these are. When he kills one, it drops diamonds. So he just kills a bunch of these as they spawn and gathers a ton of diamonds. Oh, and they also drop blaze rods. Of course. The runner is able to get full diamond gear and all the blaze rods he needs, so he's able to go gather some ender pearls. He finds a bastion, but he can't seem to find a single piglin to trade with, so he has to find another bastion, which this time luckily does have some piglins hanging around. So he gets all the pearls he needs, but everything goes wrong when the runner makes the mistake of opening a chest. He's cornered by the piglins, but luckily still has fire resistance from a potion he drank earlier, and so he makes a quick escape through the lava. So once the speedrunner heads through the nether portal, he ends up in a village, something that is very convenient for him considering he still needs beds. So he gathers some beds and then finds a diamond golem. He couldn't at least come up with something new? He uses the diamonds he gets from the golem to craft an enchanting table and enchants his gear, something that must be a first for speedrunning. He then locates the stronghold and immediately walks right to the portal. The rest of this run is normal, so let's move on. This next runner spawns right in a village, and in a house's chest he finds a flint, which normally wouldn't be out of the ordinary, but the smithing table here shows us that this is a toolsmith house, where flint cannot spawn. It only spawns in Fletcher houses. And in this village he finds 1, 2, 3, 4 iron golems, way more than should naturally spawn in a village of this size, as the number of golems is based on the number of village houses. So he gets all he needs from the village and then swims through this lake, remember this for later, in order to get to a ruined portal, where he finds a ton of insane loot in the chest. He finishes the portal and heads into the nether, where right next to his portal we can see a space in the ground that clearly was a portal that was broken by the runner, showing us that he has already been here. He finds a fortress next, which he doesn't get the achievement for entering, and when he finds a spawner, there is a ton of blazes. Way more than should naturally be here, considering he just showed up. He gets all the blaze rods he needs and then finds a chest with obsidian, which just is not possible. He heads into a bastion next, where he finds a ridiculous amount of gold in some of the chests, which he trades with some piglins and ends up getting a lot of pearls. A pretty impossible amount. Next, the runner heads to a very specific spot in the bastion and builds a portal, which brings him into a random cave in the overworld. No, that's not right. So he heads back into the nether and back through the portal once again. And now he's back to his portal that he originally entered the nether with. Strange. He heads back to the lake from earlier in the run and mines straight down, right into the stronghold. And once he's in the end, all of the crystals are already gone. And so the runner is able to kill the dragon super quickly. This next runner spawns right in, and before even chopping a tree, he runs directly to a humongous village that he clearly already knew the location of. And I guess because the village is so big, the runner thinks they could get away with there being 8 iron golems. Wow. In the village's blacksmith, the runner finds exactly 10 obsidian, the required amount to build a portal, and some other pretty good loot. He leaves the village, but notice how it's already nighttime, only a few minutes into the run. Something that is strange considering it's supposed to take 10 minutes to switch to night. Nearby, he finds 2 lava pools right next to each other. And even though he already has the obsidian from earlier, he decides to use one of the pools to make a portal. Remember this for later. He finds a bastion right after entering the nether, where he finds netherite in one of the chests, which is perfect considering there's a smithing table right here. But of course, it isn't possible for smithing tables to spawn in bastions. What a surprise. The runner grabs some gold and finds just a couple piglins to trade with, which seems like it wouldn't really work, but surprisingly it does. He's able to get 20 ender pearls fairly quickly, which obviously isn't possible. Using the obsidian he found earlier in the run, he builds a quick portal and heads back to the overworld. But wait, he never went to a fortress when he was in the nether, so he doesn't have blaze rod. Oh, wait, but he does. The runner must have cut his recording when heading through the portal, and now all of a sudden he has blaze powder that he didn't have before. So he's able to make Eyes of Ender and head into the end, where he doesn't even bother breaking any of the crystals, as he seems to just be able to kill the dragon right after it perches. This next runner spawns in an absolutely terrible seed with no visible structures nearby, but for some reason decides to continue this run instead of resetting for a better seed. This decision makes more sense when the runner runs right to a village, where he finds a ton of diamonds in the chest of a normal village house, something that is obviously not possible. The runner finds a second village very close nearby, where he's able to find a ton more diamonds, and in one of the chests he finds a potion of levitation. So he eventually makes the strange decision to drink the potion and floats upwards quite a bit. What is he doing? Oh, alright, that makes sense, I guess. So the runner proceeds to destroy all of the crystals, but he needs some blocks. So he cuts the recording and all of a sudden has plenty. Alright, we're done with this one. This next run starts out normal. The runner loots a village, and then just a couple minutes in, he cuts his recording suddenly and then just continues playing. But if we look closer at the footage, we can just barely spot in chat that he looked up the coordinates of a ruined portal. Right after this, there's a few more jump cuts that are slightly less obvious. These were most likely just to help the runner find the ruined portal, which he eventually mines straight down and right into. He grabs some obsidian from the portal's chest, which he doesn't get the achievement for. After this, I'm pretty sure the runner just realizes he doesn't have a flint, and so all of a sudden the chest has a flint, which it didn't before. And so he heads into the nether, and wait, all of a sudden this is no longer the original speedrunner playing. It's Illumina, a famous Minecraft speedrunner. Well, at least this one is creative. This first speedrunner starts by immediately finding a shipwreck with blaze powder. He finds a village next where you can spot 2 iron golems, something that cannot be possible because of how small this village is. 1 iron golem spawns per every 10 or so villagers, and there's no way this village has over 20 villagers. He finds an ocean monument right next to the village, and notice these lanterns right here. He goes to where these lanterns are and finds the gold room right under them, but lanterns don't naturally spawn here. This is what this spot is supposed
supposed to look like. This tells us that the runner placed these lanterns here himself to remember where the gold was. And right next to this monument, he finds another, also with the artificial lanterns. Notice how he never saw a single guardian. Weird. He builds a portal and heads into the Nether, where he attempts an advanced speedrunning technique where you use the pie chart in the F3 menu to determine what direction the nearest bastion is in. Typically, this technique is pretty complicated and requires some thinking, but the runner ignores all that and just spams keys randomly. He even goes into spectator mode by accident. Once he's done pretending to locate a bastion, he finds one, but he clearly already knew it was here, something that is further shown by this obviously man-made tunnel that brings him right into it. Next, he finds ender pearls in the bastion chest, which is not possible. The runner returns to the same village from before to collect beds, but notice how the golems don't attack him. This proves that they were spawned in, as naturally spawned golems turn aggressive when the beds of the villagers are broken. This is further shown when the golems don't fight back when they're being attacked. Okay, let's move on to the next run. This next runner starts by immediately heading to a village, where he finds skeleton horses. After looting this village, the runner heads to a second village right next to the first, but this second village is very obviously a village from the 1.8 version of the game, something that is shown by the gravel paths and the lack of farms. How this happened, I'm not sure, considering the first village the runner found was perfectly normal and from the newest version of the game, and the runner is playing on the newest version. The runner finds a very overpowered blacksmith with all of the obsidian he needs for a nether portal, but instead of heading into the nether, he just runs for a very long time in a random direction until he finds a desert temple. Inside the desert temple, the colors in the pattern on the ground are swapped. Here's an example of what they're supposed to look like. The runner steps on the pressure plate in the temple, but instead of it triggering TNT, it triggers a dropper in the wall that gives him blaze rods. The runner heads into the nether and walks straight to a strange ruined portal, with a ton of piglins for him to trade with and a chest full of ender pearls. Okay, this next run is weird. Just wait. The runner starts by looting a village, and things seem normal until they enter a desert temple and just very blatantly cut their recording, something that isn't entirely explained quite yet. They enter the nether and cut their recording once again, but this time they end up with blaze rods in their inventory that they didn't have before the cut. The runner eventually heads back to the overworld and just randomly ends up with ender pearls in their inventory, which allow them to find the stronghold. But here's where things start getting really weird. The runner finds a Pokeball, and inside of the Pokeball was apparently a Charizard, which the runner rides on top of in the end to fight the Ender Dragon. Basically a dragon versus dragon duel. Oh, and they spawn a bunch of other Pokemon too. This is easily the coolest way you could possibly finish your speedrun. This next runner spawns right in a Badlands biome, where he finds a chest with insane loot. He loots a village next, and then heads into the nether, where we can spot an extra portal, showing us that he has already entered the nether on this world. This is further shown by the many striders with saddles that are just sitting here in the lava, something that is not possible because there is only a 2.3% chance of a strider spawning with a saddle, and there's like, what, 5 here? Not counting the one just sitting on another one's head. The runner finds a bastion next that has ender pearls in its chests, and there are just no piglin brutes throughout the entire bastion. The runner gets all the items he needs and is ready to head back to the overworld, but notice how there's remnants here of a past portal. He builds a portal right in this spot, and once back in the overworld, is able to walk straight to the stronghold. Let's move on. This next runner turns right around immediately after spawning, and finds a village. How much more obvious could these get? The runner loots the village and ends up fighting an iron golem that is conveniently located in a spot where it can't fight back. The runner rides a boat out into the middle of the ocean and hops out to swim down to a ruined portal. But obviously they can't use this portal to enter the nether. Oh, but it's fine. There's just a random trapdoor here that leads them right to a portal that is perfectly ready to use. While the runner is exploring a fortress, they find a gift from the blazes. Oh, okay. The runner eventually heads to the end, but something's not right. Oh. This next runner starts by looting a village, and things seem all cool until they pass an upside down cow. The runner heads right into the nether, and once they're in it, mines straight down and right into what seems to be a man-made cave, then follows a very specific path that leads them directly to a bastion. No pie chart required. Both chests that the speedrunner finds have an impossible amount of gold, and notice how the bastion already has a hole pre-built for the piglins to trade in. Here's when things start getting tricky. When the speedrunner mines down next to the piglin hole to collect the loot from trading, we can see that there was this one little block already mined out here that's not visible from above the piglin hole. After falling next to this one block and collecting all of the items from the piglins, the runner has an insane number of pearls and obsidian, an amount that wouldn't be possible from trading, even with this many piglins. The runner clearly placed this loot in the one little block before the run, so that they could sneak them into their inventory without any cuts. The rest of the run is pretty normal, so let's move on. This next runner spawns right next to a shipwreck, which is either really lucky or just really fake. As the runner heads to a nearby village, we can see random gunpowder and arrows on the ground, showing us that the runner played on this world already, as these are items that drop from killing mobs. The village's blacksmith has some very obviously fake loot. The runner finds a ruined portal next, where there are some random, strange sheep all around him. Not sure why he put those there. The runner finds a bastion that has insane loot, including a ton of diamonds, an enchanted diamond sword, and netherite. There's also conveniently a smithing table right next to the chest, just so that the runner can make a quick netherite sword. There's a blaze spawner in the middle of the bastion, so the runner can completely ignore finding a fortress. The runner trades for the pearls he needs and then runs to the nether in a random direction for like 3 minutes, until he finds a hole in the ground where a portal obviously was previously. The runner builds a portal in this exact spot, and once he's back in the overworld, he immediately digs straight down and ends up in the portal room, which, by the way, the portal is fully lit. This next runner starts by immediately finding a ruined portal, where he finds wildly unrealistic loot in the chest, and heads straight into the nether. Once he's in the nether, the runner runs right around this hill here, and right on the other side is a fortress. This proves that he had already located the fortress before the run, as it wouldn't have been possible to see the fortress from the portal, of course, because this hill is blocking the view. There's this bridge linked to the fortress that is clearly man-made, as well as a second bridge later on that is even more obviously fake. The runner kills some blazes and gets the rods he needs, but what about pearls? Well, he just finds those in a chest, obviously. The runner heads back to the overworld and does something pretty interesting when he finds the stronghold. See, when he's throwing his eyes, one lands right in the ground, meaning that he's basically standing on top of the stronghold. But instead of mining down right there, he walks over to a different spot nearby and mines straight down and into the portal room, showing us that he knew exactly where it was all along.
Please remember to subscribe, and thanks again to Frag for sponsoring this video.